2026 ist es endlich soweit. Die Formel 1 bekommt ihr 11. Team. Das haben sich so viele Fans da draußen gewünscht und endlich wird es Realität. Wir bekommen Wagen Nummer 21 und 22 in die Startaufstellung und diese beiden Wagen werden die Lackierung von Cadillac haben. General Motors hat den Zuschlag bekommen nach einem langen und zähen Prozess, den sich die FIA und Liberty Media geliefert haben in der Ausschreibung eines 11. und eigentlich auch potenziell 12. Teams. Aber erstmal haben wir mit Cadillac 2026 ein neues Team im Grid und darauf freuen wir uns alle sehr. Aber trotzdem gibt es einige Fragezeichen um dieses Projekt gerade noch, ne? Also wir wissen immer noch nicht, wer da fährt. Sergio Perez wird gehandelt, Valtteri Bottas macht witzige Instagram-Videos, wo er seinen Sitz andeutet. Viele Leute da draußen wünschen sich auch Fahrer aus der IndyCar-Serie, die in dieses Auto kommen sollen. Colton Herta wird immer wieder genannt, Palou wird immer wieder genannt. In Deutschland wird Mick Schumacher immer wieder gefordert. Aber wer es wirklich wird, das wissen wir nicht. Was wir wissen ist, dass Graeme Lowdon der Teamchef ist. Graeme Lowdon ist kein Unbekannter in der Formel 1. 2010 kam er mit Richard Branson, dem umtriebigen Unternehmer, in die Königsklasse. Der hat sein Virgin Racing Team an den Start gebracht. Aber das war kein erfolgreicher Start. Zwar hat Timo Glock dort ein Cockpit bekommen, aber Erfolg hatte das Team nicht. Es wurde irgendwie auf Sparflamme gekocht und das kann in der Formel 1 einfach nicht funktionieren, kann heute nicht wirklich funktionieren und konnte damals nicht wirklich funktionieren. Aus Virgin Racing wurde irgendwann Marussia, da war Lowdon auch noch CEO. Irgendwann trennten sich die Wege, aus Marussia wurde Manor und ja, beide verschwanden irgendwann aus der Formel 1. Jetzt ist Lowdon wieder da. Nach einigen Jahren, die er eher im Hintergrund gearbeitet hat, unter anderem als Manager von Guan Yu Zhou. Obacht, also auch er könnte ein Kandidat für ein Cadillac Cockpit sein. Aber er ist jetzt der Hauptverantwortliche, der in Silverstone, in einem kleinen unscheinbaren Fabrikgebäude unweit der Strecke, die Fäden ziehen muss, damit das Team erfolgreich wird. Und wir haben unseren Autosport-Kollegen Ben Hunt mal losgeschickt. Autosport ist ein Schwesternportal aus dem Motorsport Network Germany und er hat Lowdon genau die Fragen gestellt, die sich so viele von euch da draußen auch stellen. Dieses Interview stellen wir euch jetzt in englischer Originalsprache zur Verfügung, aber natürlich für die, die der englischen Sprache nicht so mächtig sind, mit Untertiteln. Viel Spaß dabei!
Graeme, talk us through starting a Formula One team from scratch. It sounds like a very big task. How do you go about starting a Formula One team?
Well, it's a very good question. Like most teams, it begins and ends with people. And in fact, the bit in the middle is all about people as well. So, you know, when you're putting a Formula One team together from scratch, the most important thing is getting the right people on board and attracting the right people. And I think with Cadillac Formula One team, you know, we've got a very attractive proposition and people have recognised that.
What about the actual process? Because before you said it took over 700 days from the start to actually getting the entry confirmed. How was that process for you?
Intense, I think, really intense. And it should be at the end of the day. You know, this is a world championship. You know, I have huge respect for the other teams that are already competing, and for any team that comes in to compete with them, the entry process should be rigorous, and I can confirm it was extremely rigorous.
How do you convince people that are working in Formula One teams to be part of this project, even without the entry being confirmed? You mentioned, I think, before that it was a process of trust and people relying on the information that you're providing.
Yeah, you know, it helps that a lot of the key people, kind of, you know, myself included, have been involved in Formula One for quite some time. So a lot of it is actually personal trust. But also you don't have to look far. If you look at the kind of the three pillars that support this project, you've got this team of people that we're pulling together, but we've got General Motors, you know, one of the biggest automotive manufacturers in the world, you know, with their history of innovation and also their involvement in motorsport as well, and TWG Group as well, you know, who bring, you know, really unbelievable understanding of sport and a great vision in sport, not just in motorsport, but in other sports as well, you know, like basketball and baseball, and also their business acumen as well. So again, you know, the ingredients for something special are there.
Also, it's slightly different from most Formula One teams which are based in the UK. We're obviously here at Silverstone, you've shown us around the factory, but the headquarters is going to be in the US and you're going to be reliant upon US staff building the majority of the car.
Yeah, so we're building the global headquarters for Cadillac Formula One team in Fishers, which is on the outskirts of Indianapolis. GM have technical facilities as well in Charlotte, in North Carolina, and also Warren, Michigan. And then we're building our own power unit facilities in the US as well. So yeah, we're dealing with a lot of these sites. But I think a cool thing is, our global headquarters is in Indianapolis, so it's the home of IndyCar. We've got our presence in Charlotte, North Carolina, which is the home of NASCAR, and then here we are in our Silverstone operation, which is the home of Formula One. So there's a motor racing DNA that runs throughout everything to do with the team.
And of course, getting the potential for US-based staff in Formula One as well. I mean, you've got a whole new market of engineers, and mechanics and design team. It's a whole opportunity for the team, isn't it?
Yeah, and we're huge fans of diversity, with diversity you get diversity of thought, and with that you get creativity. In Formula One, of all of the motor racing activities that there are, Formula One, it is the haute couture of motor racing, if you like. I view it as such a creative process, and so tapping into these kind of new pools of talent, I think, is really important. Yes, we need to expose people to how things work in Formula One, but smart people pick that up really quickly. So we're looking forward to what we can bring that's hopefully a little bit new and a little bit different.
And what will Cadillac bring to Formula One, do you think?
Well, first of all, an unbelievable brand. It's the strength of the brand is huge. You look at the history of it; its history of innovation, which continues now with the product line that they have now, and certainly historically, they have over 120 years of history of innovation. But also, they're not new to racing as well. It's one of the things that really attracted me when I knew that General Motors were involved, and specifically Cadillac, is they have deep rooted interest in racing, and they're highly competitive, and they display all of the attributes that you want in a OEM partner as well. And of course, they're bringing scale and stability as well. They're an enormous company, and there's a lot we can learn from them. And
of course, the potential for a power unit as that's the other aspect.
Yeah, it's not a small task to venture into making a Formula One power unit, and the commitment from General Motors and from Cadillac to go forward with the PU project. Now, again, these projects take some time to come through, but we're realistic about what the team can achieve. We'll never overpromise, but I think it is important to have ambition, and we do want to be competitive, and to do that, having control over every facet of the car is a key thing.
Now, you were with Manor when Manor started up in Formula One. Are there similarities that you can see between the two organisations? Obviously, you've got the might of GM behind you in this instance.
Yeah, I think in terms of team spirit, I think that's the number one thing is this is it's a manufacturer Formula One team, but it's still a startup, and we've gone from a very small nucleus of people up to now quite a sizable team, and something that we've been able to preserve is that competitive team spirit, and that reminds me an awful lot of the previous. Of the previous time, and if you have that spirit within the team, everything becomes so much easier.
Is it a case of trying to prove people wrong as well? Obviously, it was very difficult to get this, entry over the line, and there was a little bit with the Andretti and a little bit of a pushback from Formula One. Is there a sense that now you're here, you want to prove people wrong?
No, my view is there's kind of no place for that in pure competition. We want to, our first target obviously is to gain respect from fellow competitors. I think that's really important. But then we want to beat them, and that's no different from any other team. But we're not here to prove a point or anything else like that. I think we've got target in mind. That's way more important.
And how have you been received by the other teams? Have you had messages of congratulations, support? Have they been quiet? Formula One's a tricky business to...
It is. It's always an interesting balance. I mean, I'm lucky because I've worked with a lot of these people over a lot of years. So team principals, some of the team principals that are in place now have actually been in place for a very short period of time. In fact, I've probably been to more F1 Commission meetings than they have. Some have been there for a long time as well. As individuals, we travel the world together, and there is genuine camaraderie in Formula One. But the way the business and the way the sport is structured, it's highly, highly competitive. So whilst there's smiles, as our American colleagues would say, it's not my first rodeo. So I know for sure that all the teams there want to beat us. That's clear.
We're around 250 days away from the first race in Australia. Are you on track with everything at this moment in time?
Yes, thankfully. And there's a lot of parallel tracks, and it's always more difficult when you're doing it for the first time. But luckily, we've got some people who have done that before, and so yes, we're on track, and genuinely looking forward to it.
Awesome. My final question is about driver lineup. There's lots of speculation. You're not going to confirm your driver lineup to me now, but no. Could you tell me what sort of blend that you're looking for? Is it experience, youthful? Which sort of route do you think you'll be going down?
So, stopp. Also jetzt möchte ich eure Meinung mal hören. Schreibt mal in die Kommentare, welche beiden Fahrer wollt ihr 2026 bei Cadillac in den beiden Autos sehen? Bitte, ich möchte das wirklich wissen. Wer ist euer Wunschfahrerduo für Cadillac? Jetzt in die Kommentare schreiben und das Interview weitergucken.
We talk about this a lot within the team. We're out of sync at the minute with the other teams in terms of competitive market for drivers, which is kind of helpful in some ways because we can have a bit more time. And I think we need that time as well, because what we're going to ask these drivers to do is maybe a little bit different from an established team. So, we're looking for this kind of really quite unique mix of clearly they have to be competitive and they've got to be quick. But they also have to understand how a new team comes together, help gel a team together as well. I think the experience is important. So yeah, it's quite a clever mix of kind of attributes that we need. But we're in luck. There's more than 2 or 3 drivers out there who would fit the bill.
So it would be experience rather than youthful, because you're implying there that you do need to have that.
Yeah,
that
but there are some experienced youthful drivers as well. So it is that mix, and we genuinely we look at every driver on all the merits that they can bring. We've said a number of times before, we'll select drivers on merit. That's not just single lap time. It's going to be a mix of all sorts of things. Obviously outright pace is important. So is race pace. So is how they work with engineers, how they develop car. There's just such a mix of things. And you're right, we can't announce the drivers just yet, but I'm sure when the time's right, we'll let you know.
Hopefully soon.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you very much.